the headlines every day serve as our marketing program because everybody's getting hacked every day.
Welcome back to another installment of the Next Gen Case Study series. On today's episode, we have Marvin Wheeler, who is the co-founder and CEO of Tier4 AI, where he leads efforts to revolutionize security operations centers through AI-driven solutions. With a distinguished career in cybersecurity and technology, Marvin has previously served as the Chief Innovations Officer at Silver Sky and was the co-founder and CEO of Cybersecurity, a company known for its advanced AI-based threat detection technology, which is why we're excited to have him on the show. Marvin, welcome to the program.
Yeah, nice to be here, Devin. I appreciate it.
Yeah, the pleasure's all mine. I'm really excited to get into some of this. You've had quite a colorful background here based on some of my research and what we were talking about off camera here. Before we jump too far into it, though, Marvin, I'd love to kind of get, maybe just a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes on your background, who you are, where you came from, and how you ended up as the CEO of Tier4.
Yeah, that's great, Devin. So I'll skip like halfway through my career because you can tell I was there back when computing was still an abacus. So I'll skip to the more modern part of it. But was at Bell South as a data center manager, and around 2000, Manny Medina was a big developer in Miami, one of the key guys who build all sorts of things there. And he put a bid in to build out a brand new internet exchange in downtown Miami. And that was in order to pull in all the submarine cables heading to Latin America, bring them into an internet exchange point, and interconnect them with all the other domestic carriers so that ultimately, if you did a trace route anywhere in the United States to Latin America, it went through our hub in Miami. So that was our initial thing. It was the Nap of the Americas in Miami. We expanded that. I was born and raised in Miami, so this was a fun project for me to be involved with in the city of Miami, which was known in 2000 more for tourism. There was not technology and things like that. Today, it's a very technology, financial driven hub. But back then, it was all tourism. Anyway, so we kind of took on this project. Over the course of the 12 years, we expanded into multiple data centers around the United States, including Silicon Valley, Northern Virginia, all that. We were in Europe, in Amsterdam, Madrid, Istanbul. We were in South America, in Bogota, and in Sao Paulo. And we were headed to Asia Pac in 2012 when Verizon came along and made an offer we couldn't refuse. So we ended up selling in 2012. Along that way, I could go on and on. It's probably a 5-beer story of talking about, how we got involved with a lot of federal agencies. Everywhere we were around the world, we were the internet exchange point. So we were the internet hub everywhere. In Amsterdam, when AM6 moved in Madrid, we had Hispanics, and in Sao Paulo was FAPESP. Every internet exchange around the world was in our data center. So we were well liked by the early stage companies like Google and Amazon and Microsoft and all that, who needed to be sitting on top of these internet exchanges. And we developed a cloud offering for enterprises long before Amazon and Microsoft and Google were able to handle enterprise workloads. Back then, it was just developers, and it was based on VMware was the underpin of it. And we got a big investment from VMware into our business. So that kind of helped put us on the map. Our cloud, we were running things like World of Warcraft ran on our cloud and things like that. It was an exciting time. And again, it was it felt like 12 dog years at the time, but I look back on it and we were in the center of everything. In our Santa Clara data center, we were the early stage, if not first servers for Facebook and Shutterfly. And that's a whole nother story into itself with them coming in, loading their very first servers, both those companies. So it was fun. It was exciting. We were right in the middle of it. Sometimes we didn't even realize until later how much in the middle of everything we were. Anyway, we sold to Verizon in 2012. And then I thought I was done. I bought a lake house outside of Atlanta and I thought I was done. And then Jamie DeSantos, who I work with, my fateful moment of her coming and saying, hey, let's do it again. And we went into DARPA because one of our projects at Terramark was with DARPA, and it was machine learning AI, working on things for the warfighters, having nothing to do with cyber. So we went back in with the thesis that if we were to take cyber data, run them through the same AI ML processes, that we would be able to detect anomalous conditions in the data that were not found by typical signature-based systems, which were the prevalent way for detection at the time. We brought in 3 major Fortune 500 CISOs who we knew. I won't say their names on here, but they were big-time companies. They brought their data in. We found anomalous conditions in all of them. They were all amazed. It led to a $25 million 3-year contract with DARPA to go develop this thesis out. And then from that, we sprung out Cybrix and went to the market with an AI ML-based detection platform that we sold into commercial and federal company, ran in DoD, ran in large commercial companies, and it was pretty successful. We exited that to Silver Sky, which is where I was chief innovation officer for a while. And then we decided at the time, back when we were in the DARPA program and with Cybrix, John Tickner, who's the co-founder and CTO of Tier4, he was our lead data scientist and drove most all the analytics that we built, all the algorithms and things like that. So we got back together, he and Alex and I, and we said, hey, let's do one more. Let's take advantage of this Gen AI, all this new LLMs and all that, and let's build a platform that will help the SOCs, the Security Operations Center. So John is really the technical architect of it all, and then I'm busy trying to raise money to, feed the engine and then help get a bunch of our early stage deals. And we're on our way now to it. And what I think is different, Devin, about what we're doing than most other people in the space is we're not trying to solve world hunger. We're trying to fix the tier 1, the entry level SOC analyst problem. And what you see is that you read every report and it tells you there's this massive shortage of cyber talent in the industry. And then going forward with all the new bad actors that are out there, with all the new bad actor techniques they're using, the gap is getting wider in the talent level and the amount of people versus the adversary and it's like you're at the Alamo or something and they just keep coming and there's not enough warriors to stop them. So and when you read, and I'm not one to be real big in all the young social media stuff, but when I go and you read on it, glance around, you'll see somebody go on there and say, hey, I'm thinking of taking a job in a security operations center. What do all you guys out there think? And there'll be 50 replies. Run from it, buddy. Don't get anywhere near that. That's a dead end. You're going to be out there unappreciated. Then one day something goes wrong and they're all climbing all over you. So get away from that. And so this is a discouraging thing for young people to want to go and get involved in cybersecurity. So what we're trying to do is build this platform that's geared toward that tier 1 group. We're low cost and basically be able to take advantage of all these LLMs where we read in all the alert data, all their alerts, which they're inundated with, and then use the LLMs to help us create evidence for them to understand why we've ranked it as one of the worst ones. And then as well, remediation steps that they need to take. Ultimately, we're going to take it into more and more automation. But the idea is everybody else is trying to solve world hunger. And so if you want to go use a lot of these other Gen AI based solutions with custom LLMs and all that, it's only going to be for the large enterprise that can afford to pay a lot of money. And so we're looking at this is flying right over small business, mid market. They're not going to be able to afford the cost of all these newer solutions. We are doing it where it's very low cost and it's really, really, truly geared toward getting those entry level people to take a deep breath and be comfortable because they have a side buddy with them that's helping them get through everything, sort it, prioritize it, give it context, give it guidance, eventually automate, and make it where people want to do that job. They look forward to it because they're not afraid of it.
There's this trend that I have noticed from the people that I've had these conversations with, that there is a definite vacancy in tools and resources for that mid-market, the small, medium business size, who can't really afford these hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars type solutions. It's just so far above their head. But the problem exists that they don't know that they have an issue. They don't know that there is a problem that needs to be solved, and they won't know that until the proverbial shit hits the fan. And so, if that's the case, Marvin, I'd love to get your perspective on the angle that you're taking to communicate with that group of people and get them interested in the solution.
So here's the deal. It's the headlines every day serve as our marketing program because everybody's getting hacked every day. And what I think everybody's beginning to wake up to is, ignorance is bliss. It's not a strategy. You can't say, well, if I just put my head in the sand, then maybe all this will go away. It just won't. The bad guys are looking for the easiest targets. They're looking for the very easiest targets. So the less that you attempt to stop them, the more they're coming at you. So we're trying to make it where, we have a mobile interface to what we're doing, so that if somebody's at dinner, a manager, they can get an alert that, oh my God, something really nasty's going on. But we will provide, all the context. So if you turn around and you say, for instance, even security providers, this problem of talent is not limited to just small and medium business. It's also prevalent in the service providers who provide service to these small and medium business. I'm not going to, say anything other than the talent level and the experience level and the skill level is not that great. But with tools like what we're building, you can, there's a saying, rise the tide and all. That's what we're trying to do for this environment. Whether you're a provider, this is something that, like if you were a security provider, maybe you've got a formula that says we have a security analyst for every 25 customers or some number like that. With a tool like this and the efficiencies that those guys will get, maybe your number goes 1 for every 50 because the tool itself is doing a lot of that tier 1 work for you. So, the economics get it helps improve the economics. And every one of those MDR companies is backed by huge private equity with 300, 400, 500 million in there. And so they're all getting crushed on to improve the economics of what they're doing. So if they can turn around and say, hey, we just have this tool now where our SOC is so much more efficient. I don't need to add a new analyst for every 20 customers. I can get 50 customers before I need to add another analyst. And that's what we're trying to do. For those guys, this is what will help them. For small and medium business, they can get by with 2 or 3 people that, they typically have their business card, IT, security. But we can help take that person and make them into a pretty decent cyber analyst with the information that we're providing in the tool.
So I get a sense then that as much as the news and the headlines kind of fuel that initial, like, I don't want to call it fear, but maybe concern-based uh, thinking
Mm-hmm.
that drives people to what the Google, the search engines, they start looking for you, that and then you show up. Is that kind of what the approach is looking like?
Sort of, yes. That what we want. We would like to, you do all that, try to get your tool out there in the search engine. But I also have learned that this is something I learned back at Terramark when we were dealing with lots of private equity that wanted to come in and make, an offer to either put a lot of money in or buy the company. And this is what I learned in the investment world is that you can tell them anything you want about, oh my God, we have all this exponential sales process and we have an ability to get all sorts of new deals and through blah, blah, blah. And they, when they're said and done, they look at you and they say, well, how many salespeople do you have? And you say, well, we have 10. And they say, well, what's each of their quota? And you tell them, $1,000 a month. Okay. So you're selling 10,000 a month. Oh, no, because we got all this. No, you got 10 salespeople with a quota. That's what your deal is. And so what I've learned is that you really have to lean on partners to go out and have exponential, sales so that you can prove to investors and everybody that no, we got 5 guys or 10 people or whatever, but we also have these partners and this one is selling, 20 deals a month and this one over here is selling 10. You have to be able to prove that you have the ability to reach through your partner network. In this business, all these MSPs that are managed service providers for these customers, they're the ones who typically install endpoints, install firewalls, and load the endpoints on all the customers' laptops for them. So they have the relationships. Once they find out that there's a tool available for them to remarket and make their job easier, be better coverage for their customer, they are loving to jump in and sell. So what we've been doing in our development process is we have probably 20 relationships with those types of people and even companies that have larger security teams, some have small security teams, but we have them with user IDs on our test system and they are constantly testing. And I can tell you, most of the people that we have doing testing for us to make sure that they like what we're doing, they're not easy people to please. I'm not going to name names because if they hear this, then they know I just called them a prima donna or something. But these people are hard to please. So they demand that, well, if you're going to do this, you should at least display this other information too, or things like that. So we're getting kind of user crowdsource based, analysis of everything that we're doing, that it's actually really good for the end user and very, very desirable and purchasable. So we've got a pretty strong group of people that are helping us with the, making sure that we're hitting the market properly.
So there's a alternative here to, the traditional avenue of marketing something that you're pointing at that's more like connecting with the right people,
Yes.
networking, having individual conversations, one-on-one type stuff, and looking for the pockets of people that you can serve as a partner. So what sorts of challenges, bottlenecks, or friction exists inside of an approach like that?
Well, everybody's pretty coin driven. So the first thing they want to know is, okay, well, if I sell a deal, how much do I get? So you have to be sure that you're very, you're not chinchy about that. Like there are a lot of early stage companies, they'll be very, I don't know, like sort of cheap about, well, we're only going to pay 20% if you bring us a deal or things like that. And you have to be generous with that because you want them to be happy that they sold the deal for you. You have to do that. And what I have found that investors want most is to see that you have customer traction. So I'm not saying you sacrifice margin to, lose money to get deals, but I will tell you that there's plenty of use cases out there where you see a a large scale investment come in for 200 million, but they want market share. So they'll tell the business they just put the money in, practically give this thing away for the next 6 months. I want to see a big customer growth. Right now, I'm not worried about margin. I'm not worried about profit. Go do it. So I'm not saying you do that. But what I am saying is you have to value that you're proving to everybody that a lot of customers like what you're doing, they want what you're doing, and they're willing to buy it. Adjusting how much you give out for commission and this and that and the other, you can do that later, to get perfect at that. What you have to do, the holy grail is to say to everybody, we're going to get 20 customers a month and then go get them. And then, again, this sounds like I'm saying give it away, and I am not. Right now, we would be able to provide good commissions and still get margins, 60, 70%, even with very generous, commissions and reseller commissions. So, but what I'm saying is you got to learn, getting signed customers is the holy grail.
So could you walk me through what the getting signed customers kind of process looks like then, from like a point of discovery? Where do they find it? How do they interact with it? What do they need to know before they're enrolled in a belief that this is going to solve their problem? And then once that happens, like, does a sales team kick in? Where do all the different elements kind of fit in inside of the process?
So it's a great question, and as a true startup entrepreneur, the answer is all the above. It's always is.
You're right.
If you get stuck in a corner one way and that's or the highway, and it's tough. But here's the thing: we will be soon posting a bunch of testimonial videos on our website so that people hear from real live and for real SOC managers who have said, "Yeah, I've been using it and I love it," and blah blah blah. Then there's we will start getting more heavy into putting things on LinkedIn and Twitter and all that as we're getting really closer to that. The other thing that we're doing, we're working hard. It's not quite ready, but it will be ready soon. Where things like being on the cloud marketplaces, where people can click and be able to just run their own little POC demo, and we'll give them, 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever. And then either it converts to be a account or you cut it off. But we believe that we can make this easy enough that somebody could literally off the website or off of one of those cloud marketplaces, click it, pull it down, run it, with APIs, aim their data at it, take a look at it, see if they like it. If they do, hit the button, I want to buy. And if not, then we'll cut them off. But we think we could make it so easy that, and if you do that, all the reseller guys, then that's a piece of cake, because those guys love ease of deployment. That's the key. It has to be very easy to deploy, very easy to message, and low cost. And that's what we're shooting for.
Yeah, I can't tell you the number of times that I've gone to a company's website looking for a product or solution, and instead of being met with the things that I want, like, let me get in and tinker around with it, or give me a price point so that I understand what I'm getting myself into, so that I can budget for it, or maybe jump right in with both feet. And you're met with this, you got to talk to somebody, and somebody's gonna run this whole demo and then get you in this high pressure sales environment. And like, how many customers do you think those companies lose on a frequent and regular basis because of that friction?
Yeah, you said the right word. We want this to be frictionless. We want it to be where people can click off the website or one of the marketplaces, and we will allow our partners to post it on their website so that if an MSP has a bunch of customers, post it on their website like a marketplace. Let people click it and test it. And if they like it, boom, all they do is hit the button and it turns into an account. That's the way. And this is what our plans have been from the beginning. And this is exactly the way we're architecting it and designing it.
Yeah, it's a powerful go-to-market strategy, and one that I think is going to yield some fruit that are going to be worth the endeavor for sure.
Listen, this industry is a huge industry, and yet it's a small industry at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's very insidious that somebody's over here, now they're over there. Like, well, a lot of our customers that we had in our last company, they were a customer at this company. The guy took a job over here and then said, hey, I want to bring it in over here too. So those, like everybody, like you do metrics on what is your churn and how often does somebody, renew. We had a button that said we probably had 10% of our customers who were our customer, went to a new company and brought us in, called us up and said, hey, I want to bring this in this new company. So that to me is like your ultimate testimonial. So if you can get a little rhythm there where people are pulling you into their new company, that's gold.
Yeah, that's an excellent way of looking at it. So we're kind of coming to the end of our time together here, Marvin, and I'm curious maybe if you could kind of look into the future with me. What sorts of technologies are coming down the pipeline, or what types of things are you working towards that get you excited? What are you excited about in the coming days, weeks, and months?
I don't know how we're going to be able to measure what I'm about to say, but who knows? Maybe we'll do some surveys or whatever. But I think about, besides, I'd love to look. I would love that we put this out there. We get a bunch of customers. We're very valuable and have a great exit. So let's just get that off the table for a minute, because that anybody who says they're not interested in that right off the bat, call BS. So that's that. But aside from that, I hope that what happens is that you get a bunch of young people who say, I'm not afraid of this job anymore. I'm not afraid to go in and be a SOC analyst out on a ship, kind of isolated with just a couple other people at 4 to midnight, and all kinds of stuff coming at me. But I'm okay now. I've got my little side pilot right here that's helping me, and I'm hoping that the end result is more people will embrace the career in cyber defense, so that we don't have this giant gap of the bad guys just beginning to outnumber the good guys every day by a wider margin. So I'm hoping that so we plan to get involved with the universities. We're going to try to, get some intern and co-op programs so that we're proving that young people can become very good and skilled with the right support tools in a very short period of time.
Yeah, that's a very ambitious goal and an admirable one, considering how the shift of the state of the economy or the market or the jobs that are available and things like that. There's definitely a demand for change. There's a demand for support, and so very ambitious of you to be aiming at filling that hole. I think that's an admirable pursuit.
Listen, I spent many years on the off ship when I was early in my career, and I know what it's like to be out there where anything can happen, and you have to be a jack of all trades and figure out how to solve the problem in the middle of the night. Because the minute you start calling all the subject matter experts that are at work day shift, you get a reputation. Nobody wants you calling them all the time. You can do it once, you can do it. I just called this guy last night. I can't call him again tonight. or it's Saturday night. I don't want to call this woman that's the expert. So you're out there and you're isolated. I feel that. I plan to put some stuff on LinkedIn about that. It's a very stressful and isolated feeling to be out there on these shifts without, and not know, are you doing this right? If I do this, am I making it worse? Am I fixing it? Is this really what I should be doing? So if we can make that world a little more comfortable, then I'm excited for that. And I feel like I'm in the off shift alumni group, and I'm hoping we make that situation better for them.
Yeah, that's a incredibly powerful pursuit. I love that that's something that you're aiming at. Marvin, to kind of wrap things up here, if you could maybe thinking about somebody who's kind of pursuing something meaningful, doing the work that they're doing, facing some challenges and things like that. If you could offer them one piece of advice to help keep them on track and keep them in pursuit of their goals, what would that piece of advice be?
I'm going to go real old school on you right here and show my age and everything. But I think it's true. It's the customer comes first. And so what I see in these highly technical kind of environments, engineering people and technical people listen, I go in the room and all these young guys who we work with, these are all the guys who I used to copy off of in college. So they're all the smartest guys that I've ever been around. John in particular, our CTO. But what ends up happening with why I like working with John is that a lot of engineers and all, they lose focus on it. The goal isn't your engineering science project being a little better. The goal is making sure whatever you're doing, that people want it. They're not the bad guy because they didn't buy your tool. Something's wrong with your tool if they didn't buy it. The customer comes first. So if you can balance getting, highly technical people doing highly technical things, but always remember you're there to sell to the customers and keep them happy. And it's not just fooling them to buy it. You need them to renew. You need them to be references to other customers. You need that guy who left that company that went to the other one to want to go bring you in there. So the customer comes first. And if the customer says, hey, this is good, but I need you to do this or that, or really you're not solving my problem, you need to listen and figure out how to do that. Don't say, oh, that guy's full of shit. That's not what we had on our roadmap. And you'll hear that a lot from highly technical people.
Yeah, it's a very, very good advice. It's a lesson that I can relate to because I learned it very early in my career when I finally had that understanding of, hey, listen, I'm only here in this job making money because that person on the other side of the counter is paying for it. So if I'm not in service of that, then I'm gonna be flat on my butt on the way out,
My saying to a lot of them is, there's a lot of starving artists and there's a lot of rich painters.
Oh.
Just do what needs to be done. Make sure your customers are happy, and everything will work out. Now, I don't want to say it doesn't have an extreme technical component, because it does. But the end game is not the science project of that technology. The end game is getting customers, keeping them happy.
Yep, I'm with you on that one. Very sound advice, Marvin. If somebody wanted to reach out to you to perhaps pick your brain or work with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can email me anytime. It's Marvin@Tier4.ai. I'm happy to talk to anybody, or LinkedIn. I'm on there. People can reach out on there. And, I get all sorts of inquiries all the time, and I tried my best to answer them. There was somebody told me something, actually, anyway, somebody told me some earlier on my career, and they say, you want to be really successful. And this is dating this, and everything. It says, answer all your calls. return all your calls. That's in today's world. It's not always return all your calls, but it's, return the emails, return LinkedIn requests, stay engaged with people who are asking.
I love that. If you want to be in a state of abundance, you have to treat all things as opportunities for said abundance, or else you're going to tell the universe that that's not something you want. So very
I will
powerful.
tell you this: your relationships in the industry are so important. When we were at Terramark, we were in the data center industry. When we went to the next company, Cybersecurity, and we were raising money, many people in the data center industry that were formerly competitors invested. So that tells you that at least whatever we were doing, you maintained a good relationship, even with your competitors. We used to call it co-opetition.
Ooh.
There's times where you are cooperating and there's times where you're competing, but you just got to make sure that, you balance that.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Marvin, you've been very generous with your time and your wisdom and insight, and for that, I'm very grateful. On behalf of the viewers, thanks for doing all this and spending your time with me today.
Thank you, Devin. It was great. I've listened to a lot of your other podcasts that were posted, and there's some pretty. I feel like I'm Jethro Bodine compared to some of the smart guys you've had on there.
Hey, listen, you could compete with the best of them. Based on what I've heard from you today, there's a lot there that you've shared. So, thanks for doing this. On that note, if anybody want to, or sorry, I'll make sure to link to all of your contact and all that in the show notes for this for anybody that's listening. If anybody wants to reach out to me and my team for any marketing needs or strategy, you can visit nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us for this conversation, and I will see you in the next.